Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my BookTube channel. For Bookmas Day 9, I will be telling you guys about my most anticipated releases and adaptations of 2021. And these are in no particular order, just in the order I discovered them in, so I'll make sure to put up the book cover and the release date on the screen for you guys. First, we have Wings of Ebony by J.L., and this is her debut fantasy novel. And after Rue's mother's death, she is whisked away to this island of magic wielders by her father. And she learns that she's the only half human, half god on this island, where the leaders will do anything to protect their magical powers, and they thrive on human suffering. On the anniversary of her mother's death, Rue ends up breaking the island's most sacred law by leaving to go reconnect with her little sister. And when she gets there, she learns that black kids are being forced into a life of crime and violence. This one sounds really interesting to me because it sounds like a really cool magic system, and also it involves like the whole gods versus humans, especially because the gods and the leaders thrive on human suffering, which I think is an interesting element to the story. And overall, this just feels like a very relevant current story. Next, we have Roman and Jewel by Dana L. Davis, and this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that takes place on Broadway as a hip opera, which is a really fun term, and that's really all I need to know about it because the fact that it's a hip opera reminds me of Hamilton and that kind of musical, which I love, and Romeo and Juliet retellings are usually pretty fun, so I'm just excited for this one. After that, we have Chlorine Sky by Mahogany L. Brown, which is a coming-of-age story about an African-American teen told in verse. And this deals with heartbreaking topics like rumors, broken promises, and growing apart from your friends. And even though I haven't read any stories told in verse, I feel like it's a very popular, type of book that people really love, so I'm excited to find another one like that. And also, this just sounds like a really great coming-of-age story. I love the topics it covers, so this one just sounds really great to me. The next one is Muted by Tammy Charles, which is inspired by true events. And this follows Denver, who has always wanted to escape her hometown and follow her music dreams. And she eventually meets this R&B star who takes her to all these parties and gives her time in the studio. But through all of this, she ends up realizing that she's on the dark side of the music industry. And I feel like this one would show a very interesting side of the music industry, especially because it is inspired by true events. So I'd love to kind of jump into this part of fame and all of that. Next, we have Yesterday is History by Kosoko Jackson. And this follows Andre, who gets a liver transplant, which ends up transporting him back to 1969, where he meets this guy. And I'm not sure how long he's there for, but eventually he wakes back up in present day and meets the donor's family, who tells him that there's a side effect his liver comes with, and that is that he can now time travel. So he ends up bouncing back and forth between 1969 and present day and has to try to decide where he feels like he belongs. And this one just sounds really cool to me because it involves time travel, and I don't read a lot of books like that. And also, he bounces back to the 1960s, so it has this historical fiction element too, which is always fun. After that, we have A Faux Love Story by Lone Lee, and this one reminds me of a Romeo and Juliet retelling also, so I'm not sure if it is, but that's what it feels like to me. And it follows two Vietnamese American teens who fall in love and have to navigate this relationship while their families have this age-old feud because of their competing restaurants. And I really want to read this one because it kind of reminds me of Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, which I loved because there were competing grilled cheese, well, they weren't grilled cheese restaurants, but they both had grilled cheese recipes that were competing, and I thought that was a cute concept, so I'm very excited to see something with such a similar concept. Our next one is The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris, and this follows 16-year-old Alex, who has glimpses of the future when he touches an object or a person. He ends up touching a photo that gives him a vision of his brother's imminent death, and this thrusts him into a race against time, death, and circumstances. I'm really excited to pick this one up because it seems kind of supernatural with the fact that he has all of these visions, and also the fact that he has a vision of his brother's death means that there's going to be tons of emotions, and it's probably going to be really heartbreaking, which is something I'm a sucker for. The next one we have is I Think I Love You by Ariane Decembre, and this is a contemporary rom-com sapphic romance, and it follows Emma and Sophia, who end up competing for this first prize trip to a film festival, and their rivalry ends up turning into a romance. And this one sounds really cute, especially because enemies to lovers is my favorite type of romance, so that's really fun. And the fact that they're both artistic and like filmmakers, I think that's a cool element to it. I love books where the characters have cool hobbies. After that, we have The Bright and the Pale by Jessica Rubinkowski. And in this world, everyone except for our main character is trapped in a sheet of ice. And the Tsar imprisons anyone who has escaped, so she is on the run with her friend who ends up being brutally murdered. But then a year later, she finds out that he is still alive, and so in order to gain his freedom, she has to team up with cutthroats and thieves and head into the mountains and face something sinister. I really want to read this one because it honestly just sounds really crazy. The fact that everybody is just trapped in a sheet of ice is something I've never read about before, so I feel like that's a really cool element. And the synopsis, where it talks about her having to team up with cutthroats and thieves, reminds me of the synopsis for Six of Crows, which I also haven't read yet, so it gives similar vibes, and I don't know, it just sounds really interesting. Next, we have The Stolen Kingdom by Gillian Boehm, and on one hand, we have our main character who has hidden magical powers, which is proof of a secret bloodline and a claim to the throne. And on the other hand, we have the king's second son, who has always been uncomfortable with his position as the spare heir and the stolen magical powers that comes with it. So when she ends up in a plot to murder the royal family and seize the throne, it creates this cat and mouse chase in an adventure of dark magic and forbidden love. And this one just sounds so good to me because this sounds like the epitome of like an enemies to lovers romance, which I'm obsessed with. And I love that there's also dark magic and royalty and all these other elements that I love, so I'm really, really excited for this one. Our next one is Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet by Lake and Zeekamp. And this one follows Penelope, who is a pastry chef who dreams of opening her own business next to her father's restaurant, Nacho's Tacos. And we also have Xander, who views his position at Nacho's Tacos as a start to a new life. And this one just sounds really great because I think I've really been looking for more books revolving around food, because some of my favorites from this year have been like Tweet Cute with the grilled cheeses and Heartless with baking, so I've been really looking for more food stories. So that's really cute, but it also has a more meaningful element with the immigrant status portion of the book. Our next one is Witches Steeped in Gold by Cianan Smart, and this is a Jamaican-inspired debut fantasy novel, and that's really all I know. I know there's witches, obviously, and magic, and there's also some royalty in there, and it just sounds amazing. After that, we have A Taste for Love by Jennifer Yen, and this is baking meets The Bachelor because our main character agrees to help her mom with a junior baking competition, but when she gets there, she realizes that all of the contestants have been handpicked by her mom as potential romantic partners for her. And this one sounds super cute. It has the baking element, like I said, I've been looking for. And also it comes out in February, I think. So it'd be perfect around Valentine's Day. And it just sounds so cute. And finally, we have The Infinity Courts by Akemi Dawn Bowman. And this follows our main character who feels like her life is just beginning until she is murdered. And she ends up in infinity, which is where the human consciousness goes after you die. And here she meets Ophelia, who is a virtual assistant who has taken over the afterlife as queen and is forcing humans into her servitude. So our main character ends up teaming up with rebels to take her down. And this one sounds like a really cool concept, especially because we have things like Siri and Google and whatever the Amazon one is called. I can't think right now. But anyway, it sounds like it could be a real thing, you know? Like, maybe one day Siri is just going to be fed up and she's just going to try to force us all into her servitude the way we use her and ask her questions. I don't know. Sounds creepy, sounds really cool, and I don't know. That's all I can say. I can't form thoughts right now. Now we will move on to the 2021 adaptations that I've heard about, and the first one is The Nightingale, which comes out in December, and this is being turned into a movie, and all I know about this book is that it is historical fiction. I think it takes place during World War II, but I'm not sure. But I've heard really great things about the book, and now it's being turned into a movie, so maybe I'll get a chance to read it before December of next year. The next one is Shadow and Bone, which is being turned into a TV show, and it was just announced that it will be coming out in April of 2021, which is super exciting. I have the first book, haven't had a chance to get to it yet, but hopefully I can binge the series before I end up watching the show. After that, we have Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is coming to Disney+. I'm not sure if there's a date out there somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Either way, it's really exciting because I love all things with Greek gods and goddesses, and I didn't have a chance to read the series when I was younger, so I feel like this is a good excuse to jump into that world. The last adaptation that I'm excited for is They Wish They Were Us, which is a book that I've seen all over Bookstagram lately, and I don't think it's being turned into a show with that name. I think it's actually called The Player's Table, but it has Halsey in it, and I think the other person is Sydney Sweeney. Hopefully that's right. I'm not too familiar with that name. I think she was in Euphoria. But either way, those are some super cool people in it, and it just sounds really exciting and really good. Alright, so those are all of the 2021 anticipated releases and adaptations that I'm excited for. Bookmas Day 10 will be reindeer book recommendations, so make sure you look out for that. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.